I am now going to give you a file management example. So this is for those of you who don't have a file management system in place. So a file management system is basically an organized set of directories where you would place data. Once you locate your files, you may want to copy and paste them into some organization system. So in this example, like I said, we're going to use the file management system that's in landscape architecture and regional community planning. If you're not in LARCP, you'll find that these concepts can be transferred to your own discipline. So the first thing that I will need to do is locate where I'm going to centralize my files. And like I mentioned, this is something where you're going to want to place it on an internal drive, and we're going to call this our working drive. So in my case, it's going to be my E drive. So my E drive is my working drive. And we can see just from looking here that we already have some sort of system set up here. So just taking a look at the contents of my E drive, it looks like I have an archive directory. In other words, this is where I tend to move files when I'm done with it. So when I do my weekly backups, I know that I need to remove content from this archive drive. I'll copy and paste first, and then I'll delete it from this archive folder. So it's kind of like a backup queue, I guess you can kind of think of it as. A place where I'm done working with something and it just needs to be backed up. The next one I have is coursework. And coursework, this is where I'll put my syllabus, course schedule, project statements, task statements, that sort of thing goes into coursework. The next one I have is called projects, and this is where my actual projects go. So if I take a look inside of projects, I'm going to usually name the project folder inside of here after the actual project. So for example, I have Marlette Park. I have this network setup that I'm working on right now. I have a time management tutorial that I'm writing, and this is a Wyuka project site. So basically I name the actual project folder after the project itself. So I actually have a method on how I do this to kind of save a little bit of time. So all the way up here at the top I have this underscore template project name. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this open just to see what's inside. So in here are basically all of the folders where I would store my individual projects. So recall that for each client that you work for, you'll have assets. So you'll have models, construction documents. So these are all that project's assets. So I may have Adobe stuff, some models I'm working on in Blender, Civil 3D, Chief Architect, City Engine. So this is where I would keep all of the assets for that project. So going back up to this projects directory, so let's just say, for example, I need to start a new project. So what I would do is I would right click on this template, I would choose copy, and then over here I would right click and choose paste. So now I have a copy of this template that I created. And all I need to do is right click on this and choose rename. And I'll just rename it example demo project. So, or we can, I don't know, we'll call it maybe City of Manhattan or something. Maybe we're doing something for the City of Manhattan. This is just an example. So now in here I should be able to find the City of Manhattan folder, double click on that, and I can see that my directory structure is already all set up. So that means if I, for example, work on something in Adobe, I can just save that Adobe file in here. So this is going to be very useful, especially when you're working with groups. So let's just say that you can't be in the studio, you're out in the field, and your teammates need to work on that InDesign document layout, for example. They can pretty much go on your computer, look for that City of Manhattan project. They know that InDesign is an Adobe product, so they'll go in here and they'll see that you have an InDesign folder, and they'll open this and expect to find all of your InDesign projects located inside of here. So this can be pretty useful, like I said, for the reasons that I had outlined in the previous section, having this template. And because I have created this template here at the top, I don't have to recreate all of these folders each time. All I have to do is just copy and paste this, and then it's already pre-made for me like this inside of here. It will save you a tremendous amount of time. The other things that I put inside of my template, so if I right click on this and go to properties, you notice that it's not 0 bytes in size. I put other things in here, such as the NCS pen tables, or anything that I commonly use in all of my projects. Sometimes I'll put Photoshop brushes in here that I know that I use in pretty much all of my projects. So I have several copies of my templates. I also include maybe my company's logo inside of here. So with each project template copy, I know where that logo is located. I don't have to search for it. So as you can see, it's pretty small. It was only like 1.7 megs in size. So going back up to my E drive, another folder that I have is called Resources. And inside of Resources, this is where I would place things that I know that I would use over and over. An example would be maybe some tutorials, tables and charts of different uses of slope ranges, NCS pen tables, SketchUp models, any scripts that maybe I wrote, things that I know that I would use again and again. So in here I have my last tools. So on this particular computer I do a lot of digital terrain modeling, and I tend to reuse these last tools a lot. So that's what's inside of Resources. So this last folder here, which I've called X, and everybody names their personal folder something different, this is my personal directory. So just as I've kind of mentioned before, this is where I would store my personal files. So in my personal directory right now I have software. Some other things that people may choose to store here is their DivX collection, their MP3s. Maybe you have a personal curriculum planning thing that you have set up. Some people are dual majors and they don't exactly follow a curriculum, so they have their own personal curriculum plan going on in here. Some people store pornography in here. There's a whole bunch of things that people may choose to store in here. The whole concept behind this personal folder is you want to make sure that you keep your personal data separated from your work and academic data, because you don't want there to be any work or academic conflicts. This is important in the professional world as well. Obviously, you don't want to have a bunch of personal files where everybody's looking through. Just by having it separated out here like this, hopefully people have the common sense to not go inside of this directory, and that they only go where they need to go, which would be inside of projects or coursework or resources to access material. As a general rule of thumb, I usually don't keep super personal files on my work machine. I usually put that on an external drive. And I usually don't bring it to work. I usually keep it at home. So that's something that one should be aware of. Those of you that are new going into the professional world, that definitely don't keep any personal files on your computer, especially in firms, since it's a company machine. Your system administrator is going to go in there, and so is everyone else. Nothing's really private on the computer.